post-trade has been fairly quiet and steady. Sushil Kedia, the President of Association of Technical Market Analysts, joins in now to discuss the market trend. Hi Sushil, good morning. We seem to be stuck in this range of 7,700 on the downside, maybe at best, 8,000 on the upside. Do you see this range holding? How do you foresee the next 3 to 6 months?
We'll come to 3 to 6 months a little later. Let me focus on the next 1 month to begin with. This range is likely to expand now. I'm not seeing a massive reversal or, resumption of the bull market. Yes, the range may expand to 8,100 on the upside, and on the downside it can go down to 7,500 to begin with. There's a second layer in this range that extends up to 8,400. So over the next 1 month, on a rarer positive note, we may see a rally back up to 8,400. Looks unlikely. More likely we are between 8,100 to 7,500 for now.
Okay, so 7,500 to 8,100 for now, but there is a potential of the 8,400 level as well.
You can't rule that out,
okay.
but smaller chance.
So on the upside, what kind of stocks do you see that could perhaps lead the market there?
Okay, if I'm looking at the sectors within the Nifty, the upside can get triggered in the oil and gas manufacturers, so to say, the producers. That's where there's a distinctly different sort of structure of the pattern and a possibility of strength. And even the two telco stocks on Nifty have that potential, clearly. And then, the mining stocks and a number of other smaller stocks, the FMCG stocks are oversold. They can produce some small rebounds, dead cat bounces, so to say. And that's where the upside may erupt.
Okay. The big concern in the last 2 weeks has been the performance of pharmaceutical stocks like Dr. Reddy, Sun Pharma, Lupin. Do you see more downside in there, technically?
I think this sector within the realm of rotations of sectors has sort of lagged the down move. And I think the down move in them is now catching momentum on the lower side. And that's why, this hesitation on calling this market still to be in a trading range. Pharma clearly looks as the sector that is going to sell further now.
So what do you do with some of these big names like Dr. Reddy's and Sun Pharma?
I won't recommend a buy if you are sensitive to 10% down moves or 12% down moves. That's the kind of sectoral move that is looking like is clearly playing out right now.
No short selling opportunities there?
Depends on each person's flavor. I mean, some people may be more comfortable trading less noisily.
So give us your recommendations. I mean, if somebody is watching you now and wants to trade short on this market, what are the 2 or 3 stocks that would be, some prudent shorts?
See, the market is now in a late phase of this decline. We've been already in the sort of noisy decline for about almost 8 months. And once you are in a late phase, whether in an up move or in a down move, you have to be very selective and very focused, and playing down moves requires a much more tentative movement. So I think with a pinch of salt, you should be still trying to short only on rallies. And given there is so much noise in various sectors and stocks, why not restrict your short side adventures onto Nifty only?
Would you recommend a buy on IT names, because the likes of Infosys, TCS have corrected quite a bit in the last few weeks?
But sectorally, along with pharma, which looks to have a slightly more deeper damage of 10% plus, here you can say up to 10% kind of down move is still very much feasible within the IT names.
Okay. Today the sector of the day is some of these oil and gas names like GAIL, Petnet LNG, IGL. Anything that deserves a shorter term pop, further pop?
Broadly speaking, the 2 largest stocks in that sector seem to be where I'll take a upside punt as it erupts, and the other smaller names are not really great stocks for short-term trading. There is more noise than trend in them, so that's a pass on those. Okay. But broadly speaking, the whole sector doesn't look to be going down, and the top 2-3 stocks in that sector definitely look like will provide an upside pressure on Nifty.
Okay, so basically it's the heavyweights in oil and gas as well as few of the telecom stocks which could move up from here on. What about banking? PSU banks gave you the sense that maybe they're bottoming out. There was a rally which took place in a couple of them. It seems to have fizzled out. Where do you stand on PSU banks?
On the back of pharma, IT, I think the third sector that I feel is going to keep dragging Nifty lower and maybe around a 10% kind of a downside again in broadly almost all of the banks.
Okay, one final word then on the bank Nifty itself at 16,960. What kind of levels do you see by the end of the year and say in the next
I would like
1
to
month?
stick to a simpler way of putting it and getting away with it, that there's a broad 10% sort of a downside and not really cutting it with a knife into the remaining part of the year and predicting time as well as time. Broadly 10% downside is where there will be opportunities to get into that sector for a 6 months to 1 year kind of an up move back again.
Okay, so for the bullish trader or bullish investor, if you had to give us one stock where you see, significant upside in the next 6 to 12 months, what would your top buy be?
It's a little early to do that, but say why only 6 months to 1 year? I don't know whether there's further 20% downside. See, each sector and each stock has its own beta. But for almost last 8-9 years, the steel stocks have been making significant lower tops across years. And I think in this 8-9 years kind of time frame, maybe the next 3 to 6 months, maybe 2 months will produce that final catharsis in them, and a multi-year bull market should come into them. So I'm hesitantly watching them. Yeah, but if we're talking very short term, as in when we reach the lower end of the trading band on Nifty, maybe, and if I'm hunting for long punts, significant long punts from within the large cap names, L&T Bhel would be my top candidates to enter into those then.
Okay, Sushil, we'll leave it at that. So expect the market range to expand to 7,500 to 8,100 or perhaps even 8,400 in the next 1 month, with strength seen in oil and gas and telecom and weakness seen in pharmaceutical, IT and banking names. By the way,